Hello there, and welcome into another edition of the J-Mac Snack. This is the part of our podcast where we take one or two issues of the day and we break them down. We deep dive and tell you what really is going on. Today I have two questions that I want to answer for you. The first one is regarding marijuana and whether or not the federal government is going to legalize marijuana. And then the second one is just a follow-up. I shared with you in a J-Mac Snack a few days ago about this bribery for pardons investigation going on. And at the time, we really didn't have a lot to go on because so much of that report was redacted. Well, we now have some more information, and I want to share that with you as well. So you may have heard the screaming banner headlines that the United States Congress has voted to legalize marijuana.
A big day for the legalized marijuana movement in America. The U.S. House of Representatives today passed a bill that would decriminalize weed. It's the first time Congress has ever voted on the issue. The bill would also erase nonviolent federal marijuana convictions, but it stands no chance in the Senate, so it will not become law. Still, a historic vote reflects public opinion. The poll from Gallup shows 68% of Americans support legalization of marijuana, the highest number ever.
Now, you might have been sitting there watching and say, wait a minute, I thought that marijuana was already being legalized by so many of the states. Well, that is true, but there has been this conflict going on that has yet to be resolved, and it needs to be resolved because states are decriminalizing marijuana usage, but the federal government still has it down as a crime. And so you could be prosecuted by the federal government for possession or smoking or selling marijuana. So this conflict must be resolved. Now the Senate saying, no, we're not going to focus on that right now. We have bigger fish to fry, such as a stimulus package for the COVID-19 crisis. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they're making much headway as far as that is concerned. Now, this is not the first time that the House has tried to pass the legalization of marijuana. If you remember, they tried to sneak this in to the original stimulus package that happened earlier this year for marijuana usage. And you might be thinking, what in the world does marijuana smoking have to do with COVID-19? Believe it or not, there is a connection, albeit maybe a small connection. This has to do with, first of all, the reason that they tried to sneak it in was they tried to make it so that you could actually have a bank account with marijuana gains or money earned from marijuana. That has been another problem, that a state legalizes marijuana, but banks don't want to do business with marijuana businesses because it's still a federal crime. So they're kind of caught in the middle, wondering what to do. This is earlier this year.
Away in the new $3 trillion House coronavirus stimulus package, there's a provision that might surprise you: cannabis banking reform. Attached to the House HEROES Act is another bill known as the Safe Banking Act, which would allow state legal cannabis businesses to access the banking system. Right now, most banks won't work with cannabis businesses because pot is still considered illegal at the federal level. That means marijuana businesses can't get loans, open a business bank account, or even use credit cards, forcing them to operate on a cash-only basis, something advocates of the bill say is especially problematic amid the coronavirus pandemic.
Now, I don't know if you remember during the time, but Republicans were saying, look at this, the Democrats are trying to put everything they can, their entire agenda in the stimulus bill. And some of that was true. Both sides try and, add in their little things. But there was some justification for why they wanted to do this. And that is because at the time, we didn't know as much about COVID, and we didn't know how much or how often COVID could be spread using actual money or cash. And so there was this concern that if you continue to keep if you continue to keep marijuana businesses as cash only, are they going to be spreaders of this? And this is explained by United States Senator Jeff Merkley.
That means a lot of people are pulling their wallet out of their pocket or their purse, and they're pulling the bills out of their wallet, and they're handing those across in close proximity to a clerk, and then the clerk's handling them. These are conditions that are not good for minimizing corona's transmission.
Now, again, you can decide whether or not that's a dubious claim. Again, back then, we thought perhaps that COVID could be spread more on surfaces and through money and those types of things. I think since then, a lot of that has been dispelled with new science and new research. But the bottom line for me here is that it is absolutely ridiculous that there is this disconnect between the states and the federal government. In my opinion, it's a state's issue in the first place. The federal government should not be involved from the outset. Maybe they could call this interstate commerce or something. But I have always maintained that I think it is ridiculous that marijuana is illegal. When you compare it to the likes of alcohol, I mean, come on. I mean, let's think about it. And so I think it should be legal for both just regular use, casual use, and it should also be legal for medical use. That's how I've felt about it for the last 20 or so years. Let the people do this, and we are finding medical benefits. And even if we aren't, the long-term ramifications, I mean, come on. There's plenty of research to back this up. If the people want to grow a plant in their backyard and smoke it in their home, then who is the federal government or even the state government to say that you can't do that? I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But that, my friends, is an update on the marijuana legalization by the federal government. Bottom line, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Now, I wanted to also give you a brief update on what is the new information regarding the bribery for pardons investigation. You remember last week I shared with you that this was released, that the Department of Justice was conducting an investigation into bribery for pardons. And of course, everybody's wondering, does this go up to the White House? Are they somehow involved? Are there staffers involved? And at the time, we really didn't know. The DOJ said specifically that they have no one in the White House who is a target. And I shared that with you, but we didn't know what was going on. I'm reading here now from local10.com. A California psychologist convicted of tax evasion was at the center of a mysterious, recently disclosed Justice Department investigation into whether White House officials were illegally lobbied to obtain a presidential pardon. The effort to obtain the pardon for the psychologist Hugh Barras involved a prominent Washington attorney and a major donor to President Donald Trump. This according to lawyers involved in the case. Of course, the lawyers from both men say neither of them is under investigation. That's typical talking points. The story goes on to say it is not clear who has been targeted in the investigation, what exactly prompted the probe, and whether any charges are likely. Most of the information still remains redacted. So we have a couple of names now of people who are potentially involved, but I want to make it clear, lest we jump to any conclusions, that to my knowledge at this point in time, there is no connection to the White House or anybody actually considering these things. This is some type of conspiracy that perhaps didn't rise to that level, or we don't know what level it rose to because we simply don't have anything more than a redacted set of court documents. So I hope that helps. A little quick update. Hey, take a minute, please, and become a patron of this broadcast. A monthly donation of $5 or more will really help me out and help me bring this fearless honesty to you and these updates to you on a daily basis, which is my goal. Click on the link to wherever you're viewing this, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're seeing it. You can make a one-time donation or become a monthly patron. Both will greatly help me out. More JMac snacks to come, and let me know if you have any snacks, anything that you want me to dive into. Let me know in the comments. I would love to do that as well. Have a great day.